Alright, this is Joe out at the tiny house out here again at St. Bernard Acres. I follow other channels, we all follow each other and give advice and things like that. And I've seen on a few channels this debate whether you should run your insulation first or run your wiring first. And I'm going to show you how I do it and how I'm going to do it out here. This is my personal choice and the reason why I think you run the wiring first. What I've done, just temporarily run out of this junction box my wire. I drilled my holes and came over to this junction box, or gang box. My receptacle's going in here. Then I'll drill holes. My feed's going to come from over there. It's going to come into this side over here, go on my receptacle, come back out, go across over to this receptacle, do the same thing, come through this wall, and so on. The bedroom, I only need 15 amp service. I don't need a 20 amp breaker, so I can run 14-2 wire. That's why this is white. I don't need to run 12-2 unless I'm running 20 amp breakers. And I don't need it in the bedroom. So this stuff's a lot easier to work with and it's cheaper. The kitchen has to be on 20 amp. That's required. So that's where you'll see me using the yellow wire when I start wiring this stuff in. But this is done just for a demonstration of how I do my insulation. And you have to have a staple above this gang box within 12 inches of the box. So you gotta have the extra wire there. Gotta have some extra wire over here for the same purpose, and then you'll get it tight running through here, running through these holes. Now the insulation. Let me get down here on the floor where Gail prefers I be all the time. This is 3.5 inch insulation with the face, it's facing is what it is. So now you've got this wall that needs insulation. This stuff is designed to work when it's expanded out to 3.5 inches. It doesn't work nearly as well when it's compressed in. It needs to be expanded as much as possible. So, what I like to do once I have my wiring run, and code requires that these holes that you drill be in the center of this stud. There has to be 1.25 inches between the end of the side of the stud and the hole. If somebody's nailing or screwing, they want to try to eliminate the chance of a screw or a nail going through this wire and shorting out your circuit. They also make these little plates that you put over this area. I'm going to do that anyway. Even though I'm in the center, I'm still going to run those plates over. Now, not too many people run nails and screws down this low, but I'm still going to do it for my own safety. So now I'm going to insulate. If you put your insulation in first, what you're going to wind up having to do, let me pull this out and squeeze this in here, is, if this is insulated first, now you've got to push it all in to run your wiring. See that compressed area? You're not going to get an R13 factor in here because you've had to push this stuff down that far for your wiring to go in. So your entire wall is going to have a cold spot running along here. What I like to do is, I get this out of here without tearing it up anymore. I will take a small piece of insulation. So there's my wire. And I will stuff this back behind that wire, like so. And my wire will fit in the middle of that. Then I will take my full 8-foot mat, put it in, just like normal. What this spacing does on this insulation, these flaps fold out and goes over these studs. And what you're going to do is staple here and staple here and run staples along this. Right? Now you don't have that big depression in there. You know, if you don't put that piece of insulation back there, it's not required. I just think it helps because you don't, even putting it in this way, it's going to press that insulation up against the spacing. And again, you lose R factor, and you have an area that's going to be all along this wall, cold air is going to be able to come through this wall. Now, I will run my insulation now, staple it up. I'm ready to put my drywall over this. I don't have a void area in here that's going to trap cold air. That's the reason I do it this way. And when I put my next bat in, if you notice, it's going to go in, its tab's going to come over, and I'm going to staple it over the top of this one so that it's sealed all the way across. This creates a vapor barrier. As long as all this is sealed, they make seam tape to run along it after you staple it in. You run that seam tape down, you now have a vapor barrier. And you don't need all that plastic after you put your insulation in. Then everybody wants to run plastic all around it and then put the drywall on or whatever you're going to use. I personally don't use the plastic. I think what that does is trap moisture. And that's what you don't want, is to trap moisture in your wall. It messes with your insulation, it rots wood, you know. You don't want water in your wall. You've seen plastic, once it, you know, you got different humidity inside and outside and condensation, and next thing you know, you've got this water running down that sheet of plastic down to your bottom plate and down to your floor. I don't want that happening to me. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know. I just think this stuff was made for a reason, and I want to keep it that way. This siding that I've got on here it's like a cement board. It's like, I guess, the big name is, I think it's James Hardy siding, or Hardy siding, or something like that. This stuff is guaranteed for 50 years not to mildew, rot, warp, get insects, I mean nothing. And it's about 5/8, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. So it has an R factor as well. I've got R13 insulation, and my drywall I put out here is going to have an R factor in it as well. I might wind up with a, you know, an R16, R17 and a 3.5-inch wall, you know, 2x4 wall. So when you start compressing this stuff, you start losing that, and you leave these voids where cold air can get trapped, and that too will lead to condensation. Because the difference in temperature between where this void is and where this is not a void, where you have all 3.5 inches fluffed out, and then the insulation can do its job. I saw another channel where a guy put his insulation in, and what he did, pull this out, he's insulating his wall, right? And he's using the plastic. I'm going to have a vapor barrier, right? So you got your insulation in. He pushes these sides in and then staples it. And then pushes this side in and staples it to the inside of the stud. And then runs the plastic across there. What insulation do you have in there? You have nothing. You know? I don't understand the logic in doing that way. Maybe there is logic in it. I don't know. But I'm telling you, this is the way I've always installed insulation. This facing paper is a vapor barrier in itself. And if you do these rooms right, you do all these walls right, you're gonna have your vapor barrier, you're not gonna have to worry about it. This is how I'm doing my insulation. If I'm wrong, let me know. If there's a valid argument for doing it a different way, or for insulating everything first, and then coming through and running your wire, let me know. And I won't do it that way, but I think this is the way it should be done. This leaves no voids anywhere for any dead air, any cold air to get trapped in the wall, and it eliminates any chance of condensation or water buildup inside your wall. So, when it comes to the question, which was first, the egg or the chicken, my answer is wiring first, then comes the insulation. If you're done with everything inside out, Paul, after you're done wiring everything in, insulate it, cover it, and your wall is complete. That's how it's going to be done out here at the tiny house at St. Bernard Acres. Unless somebody gives me a valid argument why not to do it this way, then I'll change. That's what this channel is about. You saw in an earlier video, I mounted my service panel inside my bedroom closet wall here. People said, no, you can't have a service panel inside a closet wall. And I'm like, oh, okay. I moved the service panel. Because I don't know this stuff. I'm not a, insulation technician. I'm not any of that kind of stuff. I just know this is what makes sense to me, and this is how I've always done it. So if there's a better way or a newer way, be sure and leave a comment. Let me know. Because that's how we learn, and that's how other people who watch my channel are going to learn. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. If you're watching my channel to learn how to build your house, this is not the only way to do it. You better look at a whole lot of channels and get a whole lot of different ideas, because mine works for me and me only. Here's this disclaimer again, right? This is not an instructional video or a how-to video. This is for entertainment purposes. Don't do something I do and your house breaks and then you come and sue me because Joe told me to do it this way. Joe is not telling you how to do shit. Joe's telling you how Joe does it, and it works for him, and it also, gets a conversation started, and we can all learn from each other. That's the purpose of this channel. Let's exchange ideas, let's exchange thoughts, and let's exchange knowledge with each other, so that as a community, we are all stronger, and we all learn, and we share that knowledge. So, that's all I had to say on that. Thank you all very much for watching. We certainly appreciate it. And next weekend, I will finish running all of my wiring in this room and complete this entire circuit and do my insulation. And I'm going to insulate the ceiling. So we can at least, I can put my walls up in here and we'll have a warm room if we want to come out here during the winter and stay. The rest of the house won't be done yet. But I can close that door and we can stay in here to get an insulated room with a little Mr. Heater or something. And we can stay warm in here. But again, I appreciate you watching.